Hello and good evening, everyone. Star Trek, the original series, season 2, episode 11, or possibly episode 12, depending on what order you go by. The Deadly Years is over, and it has been since December 8th of 1967. But we're just getting started here on Live Long and Podcast. I'm Dave Mader, coming at you with Star Trek and TV movie reviews. Oh man, I can't talk tonight. And we're here for another edition of TED Treks as we continue our mission to watch every episode of the original series, not in order. We got 4 left, and The Deadly Years is our 4th from last. We got a great panel to break this all down. First of all, we're bringing in my dad, Ted. How are you doing tonight, Dad?
Good, thanks.
Ready to talk about The Deadly Years?
Ready to talk about it. Yeah.
It's your favorite subject, old age.
Yeah, that's a duty.
Bringing in next, we got Jody Simpson. How are you doing tonight, Jody?
Hello. They should have called this episode the Dementia Years.
The Dementia Years, or there's the Grumpy Years.
Yeah.
That's what you. What I gotta keep saying things twice. And we also have Ashley Millard with us tonight. How you doing tonight, Ashley?
I'm good.
Good. You ready to talk about the Deadly Years?
I am. Deadly Days.
Deadly days, years, months, all those things. And bringing in all our panel here, let's break this all down and talk about this episode, which an episode I definitely have seen before, but it's been a minute. I didn't remember a lot about it. I forgot that the Romulans were in this episode, although just in their ships, we don't actually see them.
So did they, as far as I can tell.
Yeah, like I never really think of this as being a Romulan episode, but it sure is, at least in part. Although it's also largely centered on the Enterprise and more of a makeup episode. Dad, The Deadly Years. Do you like this episode?
I kind of was okay. I'm not big on showing all they're getting real old and stuff.
Yeah, so you've talked about that because I was like, oh, you should check out when James Doohan as Scotty was on The Next Generation, and where Leonard Nimoy did a guest spot on Next Generation. You're like, I don't want to see those guys in their old years showing up 30 years later. They weren't in their prime. You like to see guys in their prime.
Yeah.
All right. Like Kirk.
But it is what it is.
It is what it is. I actually think this is a pretty interesting episode in terms of just like an interesting space sickness for the affliction for the crew to go. Let's go to Jody next. Jody, The Deadly Years. Where does this sort of rank for you?
Well, I don't think I'm giving my number right now, but
no.
I'm kind of with Ted on this one. The whole point of this show is to see the adventures of these characters, and you spend more time. This is like the geriatric version of it. It's just kind of meh. It's kind of boring, I found.
It's boring and meh, says Jody. Okay, let's go to Ashley next.
That sums it up.
It's definitely not my favorite episode. Although watching it on a 4K TV with the makeup is hilarious. So that was fun.
Especially the wigs.
Especially since I was watching it with my kids and their comments were epic.
Let's hear about those. Yeah, like the makeup is definitely it's kind of all over the place in this episode. I think in some, depending on how close up you are with it, really, I find in some scenes it's good, and in other scenes it's very noticeable. You can see like sort of like the shifting underneath the glue and the latex. It
was good makeup for 60s resolution TVs.
Yes. Kirk is older. This is like the oldest Kirk you see, but he has more hair than he did a few scenes before this.
Right. Yeah. What's also strange to me in some ways is that, obviously we know what these actors look like, or for the most part, we know what they look like as older men, or mostly as men, because I don't think we see an older Uhura or Chapel here. But this is not what William Shatner would look like in his old age, per se. Not exactly. A little bit.
No, he looks better in real life than he does in the
in this
old
makeup.
Man Kirk.
Right.
Old Shatner looks better.
Who else do we have in this one? We got old Scotty. That also doesn't look like James Doohan.
Yeah, it didn't look like James Doohan when he was older.
No. Wait aside. He mostly just looks like he's been through a snowstorm.
Well, he was stuck on a Dyson sphere for ages. So
yes, in the transporter loop.
Yes.
Who else we got? And McCoy. Where's sorry? Stop that.
That's Starship.
I know. I'm trying to find a picture of old McCoy. I don't have one. Okay, so but he's got his hair gets super long and
Yeah.
whatever. You right there, Dad?
Oh yeah.
Thought I was having another
Thing fell
Vertigo
over.
episode
I'm
here.
having technical malfunctions.
Okay.
We got
You
a
got it
tripod
good?
issue here.
Got tripod issues. They're
It's a
malfunctioning.
tripod that's not very good. Very loose.
Yeah, it's well, don't wrestle it or don't knock it. Okay. But let's talk about this episode, maybe piece by piece, kind of talk about the different reactions we had to the different parts. Just chime in if you had something to say about it. So they beam down to the planet, and this is some other planet that the Enterprise is meant to visit, a research outpost of some sort. And they said we were coming, and Kirk kind of mentions, I don't know, I called this guy Robert Johnson, and he was kind of foggy when I called him. He was not really sharp like I would expect him to be. That's kind of the setup of the episode. And then they're kind of looking around for people. Chekhov is the one who finds people, and they find like sort of this old corpse.
He finds a dead guy. He finds a dead guy.
He's like, ah! That's my Chekhov scared.
The best part of this entire episode is Chekhov freaking out.
This saves everybody though, him freaking out, because this leads them to the cure.
Well, yeah, but did figure that out. Yeah, at the end, that's what cured them.
So if Chekhov hadn't been a little scaredy cat, he saved the day, really. Because and I like later on when they're like, we got to test Chekhov every way, and he's like, is this going to hurt? And he's like, did it hurt last time? He goes, yes. He goes, whatever, we're just going to do it. Because we got to save the day here. Yeah, and so we end up meeting Robert Johnson and his lovely wife. Let's bring them in. He's 29 and she's 27. They got some, you'll have to speak louder.
You'll have to speak louder.
Robert Johnson, he's also got like sort of a Eastern European accent of sorts almost, or something going on there. I'm not sure where Robert Johnson's meant to be from.
You'll have
the
to
Wicked
speak
Witch of the West.
louder.
What's that?
And she's the Wicked Witch of the West.
Probably British.
Is it British? This is a British accent.
She looks like she's from Wizard of Oz.
She looks like she doesn't know where she is, mostly. I think that's what they were going for, is that like, okay, so what we learn is that they get infected with this radiation. This planet, there was a comet that had come through the system, and the orbit of the planet, I guess, had contracted that. And so anybody who beamed down was infected with this radiation, which it caused them to rapidly age, into the point where they died. And almost all of these colonists that they went to initially investigate, they all died. And all of this away team mission, which is like, it's Kirk, it's Spock, it's Scotty, it's Chekhov, who, because he got scared, he was like left immune or cured from it. There's a couple other officers, Lieutenant Galway. She actually dies. Galway?
Yeah, I wonder who's going to die in this episode.
Yeah. She's not a red shirt, though. She's a blue shirt. Where is she?
Well, the worst thing about her is you have no idea why she's even there. She's just there.
She's there to die.
No, but like there's no logic. Her and the other one, neither one of them, there's no logic as to why they're there at all.
Yeah.
Like she serves no purpose other than dying eventually.
To die.
Yeah. She becomes. Oh, wait, here's the older Lieutenant Galway, who wraps this yellow scarf thing around her neck for some reason. I don't quite get that.
It was probably the latex was probably showing on the.
Oh, yeah, they couldn't
They had to
conceal
probably
it.
have to cover it or something. Yeah,
They
that's
couldn't
my
get
guess anyway.
Couldn't get it go all the way down the
You're
neck.
assuming that they made masks out of latex back then. They probably didn't. That's probably just makeup caked on her.
Yeah,
They
maybe.
didn't have the technology of latex masks like they have now.
latex wasn't invented.
Not really to the point. Not where it was used for masks. It was in balloons, but it wasn't used for masks.
All right, we'll have to look into that for the fun facts, Jody. We'll have to see what's going on with
Yeah,
that.
I don't
All right, I've
believe
already
it.
looked it up.
I bet you that's all makeup.
Yeah. Okay. Well, like, I'm interested. I'm
I'm
sure we're
just
gonna learn some
guessing,
things
but I bet it is.
about the makeup. But yeah, so this mission is like, okay, we know we're sick. We know we're having this issue. It's not like super obvious that they're infected with this old age disease right away. They kind of go about their business somewhat. until like, it starts slowly. Like they're all having a hard time concentrating. They're forgetting things. It kind of starts with Kirk and McCoy more in particular. And it comes to a head pretty quickly. But before all that, we get to meet this other guy, Commodore Stalker. What do you guys think of him?
Idiot.
What a
Total,
bureaucrat.
total idiot. Oh, this guy, he had to go.
All right, Dave, I got your answer. I just checked in. They are latex prosthetics.
Latex prosthetics.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, they did have them back then.
They did have them
Okay.
back
Oh, this
then.
was second season, so this would have been 68, right?
67. I
Yeah.
think this is at the end of 67.
67. Okay.
Yeah. Okay, but Jody, what do you
I
think
didn't
of
know that either.
Commodore Stalker?
I don't care. He's such an insignificant character. I just hate him.
He's got a
So-
pretty big role in this episode.
Well, he has a big role, but he's just a jerk. Like,
Why
he's
did
just
he
a jerk the
not
whole
just go around the neutral zone rather than go through it?
time. Because he has no experience on a starship. He's an
I
idiot.
know, but he's the neutral zone. He should have said, "Well, what's that?" Or something. He should
Well,
have
I
at
would
least
assume-
said, "We can't go through the neutral zone."
Well, somebody in his high of a rank would probably know what a neutral zone is, I would imagine.
Well,
but-
then
He
Chekhov
had-
should have. They should have navigated around it, not through it.
yeah, well, absolutely, I agree.
Well, that's what Kirk tells
Yeah.
them to do once they get up there. Yeah. So what we learn about Commodore Stalker is that he's a flag officer. He outranks Kirk, but he's not a field command officer. So he doesn't. He's never commanded a ship or anything like that. He has kind of moved up the ranks. He's more of an administrator, really.
Like a bureaucrat. Yeah.
Yeah, and so I guess like Kirk's job was to take him to his next base or his next assignment, which was to command Starbase 10. And so he's in a hurry to get to Starbase 10 for whatever reason. That's his new assignment. He's more comfortable there, he's like as opposed to like maybe a Commodore Matt Decker who we met in what's the episode, the Doomsday Machine, right? Where they were fighting the Doomsday Machine with the Constellation. And so that Commodore was a field officer, but this guy's never really done those kinds of things. He's always been sort of off to the side.
He's
He
a
should
diplomat.
definitely know, yes, what the Romulan neutral zone is. He knows all the other regulations. He should certainly know those. But what he seems to do in this episode is he's like, well, we'll just go across the neutral zone to Starbase 10 because it's the quickest route.
He just wanted to get off the ship. He didn't care about the ship.
He didn't care about the ship or the crew. He seems like maybe not a good guy.
He almost got off it in a different way. Blown
He
up.
almost got it destroyed by,
Yeah.
it would be like, like flying it basically into enemy territory. He's like, well, we'll just have to surrender to these Romulans. And Chekhov's like, come on, man. They don't take prisoners. Are you kidding me? Like, why Sulu wasn't given command of the ship, I don't really understand in this episode.
Yeah.
Because they're like, okay, well, Kirk can't do it, Spock can't do it, Scotty can't do it. Fine.
Well, it depends on who you ask, because supposedly Uhura is fourth in command, but so is Sulu. So it could've
Sulu
been
would
either one of
be
them.
ahead of Uhura, I think.
Not according to Nichelle Nichols.
Not according to her.
No, not
I
according.
don't
to
think
her.
it's up to her, but
Well, I remember.
yeah.
I remember hearing something about that. How she was the fourth and he was the fifth.
really,
Yeah,
I've never heard that.
I don't know
Okay.
if that's true, but I've heard it.
No, because he's a gold shirt. He would definitely be ahead of her.
I don't know
plus
if the
we-
color of the shirt really matters here, Dave. Does it?
Well,
Spock is a blue shirt, and he's ahead of.
ranks him
Scotty's red
too.
shirt.
Yeah, Scotty's red shirt.
Well, I'm not saying that gold shirt always trumps blue shirt.
What
and
I
red
want to
shirt.
know is
I'm
who's
just
playing
that
cards here,
woman
Dave.
on there, Dave? Who's that woman in the fancy dress that's been hanging around on the ship for this episode?
Oh yeah, okay. Let's talk about Dr. Wallace. Whoever
That's
the
the
heck.
second
Who's
person
she?
that has no purpose in this episode.
Yeah,
You
Yeah.
have no
bring her
idea
in
why
here.
she's there. She's just there.
So what is the deal? I don't really know. I actually wrote down in my notes a few times. Who is this?
She's an old
and
fling.
What? Yeah, she's an
Why
old
is she allowed
girlfriend.
to walk around in that dress versus having a uniform
Well, she's
Well,
not in
she's not
Starfleet.
on? Okay, so what's she doing there?
We're both nerds.
Is she with that guy with the red shirt on?
Her expertise is in endocrinology and cell structure, which is the science of internal organ chemistry and hormonal chemistry. So yeah, she was an old girlfriend of Kirk's from around 2261, about 7 years before this. They had called it off to kind of pursue their own careers, and she met some other guy, some other doctor who was in the same field. They got married. He died. The husband died.
How do you know this?
I'm reading it up. Apparently, this was said in dialogue. We just didn't pick up on it.
Yeah, she was, and he was like 27 years older than her because she likes the old guys.
I did catch the 27-year-old thing. Yeah.
So it's kind of like Shenton, Dave. It's like Shenton with this girl there.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm gonna chalk her up to Star Trek convenience. They needed somebody like this on the ship.
Yeah, I think that's all it is.
Only he's 37 years older, Dave.
It just says she happened to be on the ship during this mission, and it's not really explained, like unless she was a passenger.
Well, I'm guessing she was a passenger.
Maybe she was going to Starbase 10 with Commodore Stalker.
Yeah,
maybe. But yeah, like the fact that she's here also is because Dr. McCoy is kind of like, he's afflicted by this too. He can't do much. And so I think she's kind of a MacGuffin here to sort of help find the cure and help talk the doctor through from a scientific standpoint as well. But they spent a lot of time in dialogue and in these scenes kind of lamenting over Kirk's, well, we could have been great together, Janet, but it didn't work out. Yeah. So yeah, that's kind of flamed. Yeah, she got a job and he's got a ship. And it's after her scene where we kind of get her whole backstory that, this is where Kirk's mind starts slipping. It starts with him saying like, just standard orbit, Mr. Sulu. And he's like, you already gave me that order. He's like, well, then follow it and do it. He says to Sulu. Then we got a scene where shirtless Kirk, he still can't remember his previous orders. We even get to see him like putting on the shirt at one point. And he's got the zip. You see the zipper actually from on the side here because there's a zipper that goes down here that they would have to do so that they could put the shirt on after they put the makeup on. That was why, but that was never really shown. But he can't remember his orders either. Shirt or no shirt. He is still confused. Then Robert Johnson, he dies. Can you hear me? You have to speak louder. He's dead. He was the last survivor of the colony. I guess his wife went before him. And then this is where he goes to sick base. Like, I think I got muscular strain bones or something. At this point we're really seeing the visible like grayness that they're putting onto especially onto McCoy, because McCoy and Scotty are older.
One of them makes a comment about how like your gray's coming in, and it's like, but you're looking at a guy who also has the exact same problem overnight. Like it wasn't even overnight. It was like within minutes?
Right.
Like,
yeah.
I guess they don't really establish how long they've been on the ship since they came back up, right? But
it's at least it's most like a couple days, I think.
Maybe, yeah.
I don't know, like from the time they beam up, and then Robert Johnson is the last to die. So I don't know how many days or hours went by exactly, but it starts to affect them. There's a call from Scotty. He's like, I think I need to come and see you, doctor. And he's like, all you need is vitamins, but fine. Come on.
Yeah, McCoy's even more crabby than he usually is. So you're like, there's something off.
Right. Yeah, there's just something going on. Like when Scotty comes in, like looking like I showed the picture before, they're like, whoa, okay, I think there's something going on here. We go to commercial, come back, and Kirk's log. He's like, we're all showing signs of aging except for Chekhov. And Chekhov's doing that Stairmaster against the wall thing that McCoy likes to get them to do. That's the medical test of all medical tests, really.
It really is. Like if you can climb stairs inverted on a wall,
I gotta get myself one of those.
Here's the thing that stood out to me, though. There's just the scene, like Lieutenant Galway, who we mentioned before. She went to the she kind of looks at this mirror on the way out, and she was like, "Stupid place to hang a mirror," and then she storms off. That was the end of her because I think she dies after this. But like, it kind of stood aside to me that like. Or stood apart from me that like this woman character is more concerned with her looks than her dying of old age. But like, I just not that I think that I don't think that would be accurate. Ashley, can you speak to this?
Yeah, that's just the way Star Trek was. The original series, it was all about. That's just one of those little digs at women that they like to put in that is pretty hilarious.
Yeah, I thought so too. It just kind of like, well, a woman without her beauty, what would she be?
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway,
Dead.
But-
Dead.
Yeah,
That's
dead.
what she is.
pointless apparently. And she didn't make
Might
it.
as well be dead.
Yeah, she didn't die of old age. She committed suicide because of that mirror.
There you
Is
go.
that true?
No,
No.
she came in.
She was
came
just
into
like,
the
I'm
room.
so ugly. I'm just gonna die.
She
now."
came into the room and she
Gave
goes,
up.
and that was it.
That was
There's probably a deleted scene where, like, McCoy takes the mirror off and he's like, got her.
too much arthritis.
Shout out to William Shatner in this scene though, because in the scene before, when Bones scanned him, he said you have arthritis and it's getting worse. And then in this scene, he was walking around and you don't really see it, but he's got like the old man like arthritis hands. Like
Yes.
he's
Oh, really? I
just
didn't notice
walking
that.
around. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a few times in this episode where I think Shatner really leans into like, oh, this
Yeah.
is what an old man acts like. It's like he's doing an impersonation
Yeah.
of his like grandfather. Maybe,
He
or
starts to
something.
like hunch a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did
Yeah.
notice that. Yeah.
Yeah.
His posture
Right.
was weird. Yeah.
They were
Like-
saying, yeah, we're in our 60s now, right? They're old.
Old guys.
Well, the
Yeah.
funny thing is, if you look at them, it's like, those guys aren't 60. Come on.
They
They're like
were more like
easily 80.
85.
They look like 90s or something, but they look older than Shatner looks now.
Yeah.
In
Yeah,
some
Shatner's
ways.
90.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Shatner's 90 now, but back then, yeah, like well, here's one here where he's taking a nap. They give like Kirk like the hair that they give him here, where it's like slicked back and it's like gray. It's
The thing-
very weird.
I think
Yeah.
the reason why they did this is because they all have the same wig. So
Yeah.
it's all the same, like, kind of blondish wig, and then they've dyed or they've dyed just the top of it to make it blondish. Because if you look at some of the other guys, they're wearing the same type of wig, but because of the high def, you can actually see like where the dye line is
Yeah,
on the scalp. Like it's really hey, obviously, it wouldn't have mattered back then with the resolution, but
Right.
it's interesting to see because you kind of know what's going on now, right? Where you didn't back then.
right.
So kind of neat.
Yeah, and aside from that, just in terms of the plot, like Kirk and McCoy are getting more and more cranky and curmudgeon-y throughout this. They're just getting grumpy with each other. Why don't you find the cure? I'm trying. Okay. And then up on the bridge, Stalker's like, "Hey man, when are we getting to Starbase 10?" And he's like, "We're going to be late. We are. We're not going." And this is kind of like the scene where Kirk kind of like shows that he's not competent, because this is where he gives like orders 3 times. He doesn't know the name of the planet. He's saying to use the wrong codes, code 2 or code 3. They're still trying to like solve the disease. And like the yeoman hands him the report to sign, and he's like, if I sign,
I don't have to sign this. I already signed it or something.
yeah, if I signed it, I wouldn't ask for it. And then he did. He didn't. He did sign it already. So there's kind of like you can kind of see the point, but then there's also like, well, who would get command of the ship if not Spock? Normally we go to Spock, but Spock is not in a position to do that.
Which makes no sense considering he
was.
lives. Yeah, he lives like what 3-4 times longer than humans.
about 3
And
times.
he was competent through the entire episode.
Yeah, even at the end he was
Like, granted, he wasn't 100%, right?
Yeah, but he still could have commanded the ship. At
He
that point,
was slowing down a
definitely.
little, but he
Yeah.
wasn't that bad.
No, there was nothing nothing as bad as Kirk showed, right?
No.
Like
No,
just
Kirk
not
was
able
like
to.
Dementia City.
Yeah, he's just
He-
getting the things wrong.
He would have handled the Romulans better than the Commodore did.
Right.
Wow.
Even under this affliction.
Yes.
Because the Commodore did everything wrong. Starting with flying into the neutral zone.
Nurse Chapel probably would have did a better job.
Probably.
Yes.
And this is okay. It's Spock's talking to McCoy at this point. He's like, I'm too cold. He says he increased his temperature by 125 degrees. Does he mean Celsius?
Either way,
Either
No,
way.
I would think it would be
that's still an
Fahrenheit.
issue.
By or to?
Yeah, 2 would be fine.
To 125 degrees.
Either way, it's pretty.
Yeah.
What's
2 would be
125
damn hot.
Fahrenheit?
125
like,
Fahrenheit is really hot.
It's really like
Well, a fever is
40.
what 104.
40. 40, 50,
25
maybe
in
50.
Fahrenheit is 51.6 in Celsius.
Yeah.
But he's an
50.
alien, remember?
Yeah, so
From a
he's got
hot
different-
planet. But he's
From
like,
a hot planet.
what can I do to? Of course, like I will be giving you a house call. Not with it so hot there. But couldn't he wear a coat, Spock, if he was that cold, or like a jacket, sweater, a toque?
He
That's
never
not-
came into.
That's not
Question.
uniform.
There's no like Starfleet coat, uniform coat he could wear.
I don't know.
No,
I never saw one on the original
he had
series.
he had a rough time in this, Spock. He couldn't get any relief, you know. So this is kind of like after this is where Commodore Stalker goes up to Spock and he's like, "Hey, listen, I want your help. I want to relieve Kirk of command." And Spock's like, "I'm not fit for command either." And he goes, "Well, if Kirk's not, and you won't." And Spock is like, "I don't really want to do this. Like, I resist the suggestion." But Spock ultimately does do it because this is Spock and he follows the rules. But he's like really torn up about it. He's kind of conflicted about it. And they do convict the hearing. Did you notice that in the hearing where Shatner's sitting there, does his shirt look different now in
It's
this?
Bigger.
It's
It's like
bigger.
Bigger. They're doing
Yeah,
it to make him look smaller?
That'll be
I
in
think
Fun
so. I
Facts.
think they're trying to make him look more frail.
No, I think
Okay.
they're trying to show that everybody's shrinking.
Yeah, to make him look more frail.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
well,
Right.
yeah, I guess that would be the same thing. Yeah.
It's effective because you definitely notice it in this scene where he's hunched in the chair and he looks like
Yeah.
he's
You
almost
notice
swimming.
it with him, but you don't notice it with anybody else,
Yeah.
in my opinion. But
They don't make as much of a deliberate effort as with anybody else as this.
well,
I
I
think
think it's
this-
because you see him in the chair, right? So you kind of see a
Yeah.
full body of him.
Right.
Everybody
And
else has people around.
he
them and
doesn't look
stuff, right?
commanding. He doesn't look big and
Yeah.
those kinds of
Well,
things.
they're trying to show he's brittle, right? He's this old
They did a
guy
good
that
job.
apparently in the 23rd century, all you get is dementia when you're older.
Dementia and grumbliness.
Yeah,
Grumpiness.
pissed off and
Grumpy.
don't remember anything.
Right. He goes, "Well, we're only having this hearing because Commodore wants to go to Starbase 10. Isn't that right, Commodore?" And Spock's like, "You don't even know the name of the planet, man. You think it's such and such."
Yeah, it's
planet."
supposed to be 4 or something, and
And he
keeps
says
saying
2.
Yeah,
And this was the scene where like they focused in on Shatner a few times, where you could like see his face like moving inside of the makeup glue and stuff a lot, like on the close-ups.
Yeah.
But hey, it's the 60s.
mine's just fat.
And then so it's over. So this is where Stalker's like it can't be Spock, it can't be Scotty, and he's like, "You would rather I'm a flag officer. It's better that I command than some junior officer, whether it be Uhura or Sulu. It doesn't.
No, it's
really
not.
matter."
I
It
disagree.
would be. It seems like it would have been better if it had been either Uhura or Sulu, because neither of them would have been dumb about this. But
Almost anybody they could have put in command that would have done a better job than him.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Anyone-
yeah, exactly.
They could have
Anyone
found the
else,
janitor in like corridor 2. Probably could have did it.
anyone else on the ship would have known not to enter the neutral zone.
Yeah, everybody else would be like, "Yeah, no, we're not supposed to go in there.
can we just
We've
fly
always been
around
told
it?
not to go in there."
Yeah.
What's that?
Yeah, because there's the whole scene where Spock goes to tell Kirk like the result of the vote. And he's like, "Well, you've always wanted my job, Spock." And now he's going. He's like, "I don't have your job." He's like, "Well, who does?" And he was like, "Stalker." And he's like, "You damn fool! You're gonna get us all killed." He's never had a command. And Dr. Wallace is here for this whole scene, right? Where basically Kirk's like, "You stabbed me in the back and you took everything from me and get out of my sight." And she's just kind of in the room for it. It's really awkward, and then she kind of like tries to comfort him. Like, are they trying to get their relationship going again? Anyone?
I think she is. It's pretty.
Yeah,
She
might
she
be.
seems to like the old men.
Is he becoming increasingly more handsome to her?
I think so.
Maybe.
If she seems to like the old men.
That's why it didn't work out, because he got his youth back.
That's right.
Okay. Take note. He goes, "Well, you don't run a starship with your body, you run it with your head," he says.
No, I think it needs some body as well.
Well, you have to be able to at least walk up to your chair.
Well, the odd time when you got to get in a fight with a Klingon or something.
Yeah, that helps.
Somebody's got to push those red shirts in front.
And after like the scene here, this is where like, okay, they get Spock, Kirk and McCoy together in sickbay, and I guess Dr. Wallace is there too. And they go, "What was the thing with Chekhov? Why did Chekhov not get sick? Why is he doesn't have this?" And they go, "We all beamed down together, and we were always together." And they go, "Wait, no, Chekhov left for a bit." They only figure out this, like, how many days later is this?
I know, and it's such a rapidly evolving thing that you think you would have tried to figure that out way earlier in the game.
Yeah, but they don't. They took them.
They
to
had
this
time
point.
for like a court martial / tribunal,
Yeah.
whatever the hell it was, but they didn't have time to
Yeah.
look into this.
No, this seems like simple logic, but anyway, and they get, they go, okay, but what's the thing about Chekhov? He got scared. Heartbeats faster, breaths are shorter, and then the adrenaline, and then they talk about hyaronolin, like I guess what is the modern radiation medication that they use, but they're like, we used to use adrenaline for radiation before hyaronolin, and so they're, I don't know, Kirk and McCoy, no, Spock and McCoy, I guess Dr. Wallace, they kind of deduce something. They come up with some science. While this is happening, the Romulans attack, and Commodore Stalker is not doing so well. He's like, "Hey, Sulu, why don't you try calling them? Like, give them hail them and see what they say." He's like, "Come on, man! Like, they're not going to listen. We flew into the neutral zone." This is a dumb move. Anyway, Spock makes the cure.
This is a dumb.
Spock makes the cure. He goes, "It's crude and untested," and they're kind of debating who should get it
Why
first.
did he bring it over in a glass
while
when
it's shaking?
already...
A lid. What a lid would have been nice.
I know, but why did he bring it over in the glass when it was already loaded in the syringe?
That's a good point.
His senility.
Yeah, maybe he forgot.
He's like,
Okay.
drink it, inject it. I don't give a fuck. Just get it in you. Maybe that's what it is.
And the
Or
ship's
maybe
just
he's going to get his dentures done.
maybe the
that
ship's
was the
just getting
Alka-Seltzer.
pounded throughout this by the Romulans. And I did like Dad, did you like the action of the Romulans attacking with the?
Oh yeah, that was kind of
It was
cool.
nice to have some
But-
action in the show.
But I want to know what Jody's opinion is on that fixture in the sick bay with this tinfoil on it.
Oh,
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
yeah.
I
It
knew
was-
you were going to be bringing that up, Jody.
My son, we were watching this, and my son goes, "Why are they standing around a space dildo?"
It
You
was
know what?
kind of-
I was gonna take the adult way out on this one and not mention it, but now that you mention it, yes, it was very crinkly dildo.
Yeah.
It looked like it was tinfoil wrapped around something.
Yeah,
dildo.
yeah. I think Ashley's kids are correct here.
I do have a couple pictures of it here. Hold on, let me get this going.
Of course, you have
Uh,
pictures of this.
Well,
Oh, yeah,
the internet needs to know. Okay, so you can kind of see them here. Here's
There
one.
it is.
This is a very scientific
boy.
device, Dad.
I know, but it's tinfoil on it, I think.
Oh, for sure. Or in
Yeah.
it. I think it's a glass tube that has tinfoil shoved in it.
Oh, maybe.
Yeah,
it's like
okay.
I think you're right. Yeah,
Like a beaker.
Yeah.
Yeah, like kind of it.
An upside down beaker.
Yeah, it's something. It's some sort of tube.
They really do feature it quite a bit in this, though. It has a lot of prominence in a lot of scenes. Like they're standing right in front of it in a lot of cases.
Yeah.
they're very
yeah.
proud of it.
They
They're
are.
very- like, look what we
You
made.
know what?
They're like,
Did
that's
they
a
say what
glass
it was
tube
for?
and like
Hmm?
$2 worth of
Did they-
aluminum foil.
For?
What's that,
Sorry?
Dad?
Did they ever say what that was for?
No,
That's
I don't.
I
It was
didn't-
for-
Might be in fun facts. I don't know. I haven't read all the fun facts yet. So
I don't think so. Okay, but where are we in the episode? Okay, there's the attack. Basically, we're gonna get blown up by Romulans unless Kirk can get up there and save the day. So he says, "Give me the shot first," and he takes it, and like, it could kill you or you could save you, and he goes for it. Very heroic. And the whole I wrote here the de-aging sequence with Kirk was strange because
Painful,
they kept like going onto his crotch or
Yeah.
something. What was going
Yeah.
on?
Yeah.
well, I think they're trying to
Dude.
show you that like when he goes from old man back to youngin, he's good to go again.
Yeah.
Kind of similar to the same thing that happened with Jekyll and Hyde in the old movie, Jekyll and Hyde,
Like a
where he would
transformation.
turn from the transformation was painful, and he would go back and forth between characters, and I think that's what they kind of made it look like.
But it was like Janice,
Except
Doctor
they're focusing on his crotch.
Dr.
Yeah.
Wallace
Yeah.
like standing over him and like looking at
That
his
would have taken way too much money, Jody, to show the conversion back. You know, it would have
That's
taken
true.
too much makeup.
There would have been a lot of makeup in that scenario.
I think you
too.
just could have done it with a dissolve effect or something, but they didn't go that route here. Spent all the money on the makeup.
Dave, it was the 60s.
It was the 60s. Okay.
Then he gets back to the bridge and he immediately goes into Plan B.
Yeah, he's very commanding in the bridge scene. He's like, "Step aside, Commodore," and he's like, "Okay, get on code 2 and tell them that we're about to destroy ourselves with our Corbomite device or maneuver, which is going to blow it up on force," because they had established earlier that Romulans had cracked code 2. And when he said send it by code 3,
Wasn't there a show called the Corbinite Maneuver?
there's an episode called the Corbomite Maneuver. We watched it.
So that must have been with the Klingons then, not with the Romulans, or was that with
The Corbomite Maneuver is the one. What is the Corbomite Maneuver? That's the one with your favorite guy, isn't it?
Maybe yes. It might
With
be,
your
yes.
Mitch McConnell guy.
Yes, yeah. And
Yes.
so the Romulans didn't hear about it, because if it was with a Romulan adversary, then they'd say, well, they would know about that.
No, that was against the First Federation, which is more in the Alpha Quadrant, and the Romulans are the other side. They're near the Beta Quadrant. But Kirk's just like, tell them we're about to blow ourselves up, and then they just they run for it. They go, warp 8, out of here. And it's kind of fun how they animate it all in the space sequence where they're like boom, and then I guess the Romulans couldn't catch up. They weren't as fast as the Enterprise, and that was it. And Commodore Stalker's like, "Oh boy, you really know how to command a ship. I don't."
Yeah, that's it.
And then McCoy shows up. He's been cured, and he goes, Spock, I guess, Spock didn't get it right away. Spock waited. They do establish, that Vulcans live longer.
Spock is an anti-vaxxer.
He was, maybe.
He was doing research on Facebook.
Yeah, he was hesitant. He was hesitant, but he gets cured. It also just changes your hair right back too, even after, which was fun.
Hey, that's handy. Let's
that
be
was
honest.
handy. Yeah, so it was great.
Don't need to dye your hair back or anything.
Yeah, and so that's the plot of the episode, and we touched on a lot of the big parts, but I don't mind this. I thought this was a good story. I think this
it's not really the story I have a problem with. It's the execution.
Yeah, true.
It's just so slow. It's so slow, so boring.
Yeah.
Has so many things that aren't needed in the episode. And the only action you get is at the end, and it's not even related to really anything to do with the main storyline. It's a consequence of what, some idiot who takes charge does, right? That's the only real thing you get. So other than, of course, Kirk's crotch during the transformation process. But
okay, here's a question from the audience. Who would win, old Kirk on this show from this episode, or the actual older Kirk from later, from I don't know, Generations, let's say?
Generations Kirk for sure.
For sure.
Yeah. I'm with you.
No question there.
Yeah, he would have
good question though.
He punched that what's his name? Dr. Soren, was played by Malcolm McDowell.
Yes.
He was chopping wood. Come on.
And riding horses.
And cracking vegetarian eggs.
And cooking breakfast.
Yeah.
I don't remember that episode.
That's a movie.
Well,
it's a movie.
You haven't seen it.
Oh.
That's the one where Kirk and Picard teamed up.
Oh, okay. Didn't see it.
It's also the one where Kirk dies. But anyway. So moving on. Jody, do you got some facts for us?
I do, and I do have to apologize in advance. I'm just fighting off a cold here, and I've been coughing a bit. So if I happen to stop for a second, that's me doing that. The cast wore oversized versions of their costumes as the characters age in order to give them the impression they were shrinking. Oh, there you go.
So it was not just Shatner then.
Apparently all of them did, but the only one we really noticed was Shatner. William Shatner resisted looking too old as Captain Kirk aged. This is why the first aging Kirk's hairline is receding, but later his hair is more full. There you go. Ashley caught that one.
Shocker that Shatner
Yeah.
resisted this.
Yeah.
Kirk's age is established in this episode as 34 years old. So there you go.
But Shatner in 1967, actually he would have been 34 years. About 34 years old. But so that's accurate too. But does that seem young for how
A captain? Yes.
Well, even just how Shatner felt, if so basically Shatner's between 33
How he
and
acts, I would say no, but for a captain, I would say yes.
Yeah, he just like
He acts
I
like
don't-
a 34-year-old. A lot of the
I
time.
always thought of Captain Kirk in the original series as being like, I don't know, late 30s to early 40s, but he's actually quite a bit younger than that here. So, but anyway, I digress.
There you go. Having been born in July 16th, 1882, Felix Locker, who played Robert Johnson, is the earliest born actor to ever appear in any Star Trek episode or film.
Wow.
So there you go.
Hmm.
He was born in 1882.
1882. Yes.
And he was only 29.
I don't know if I'd go that far, but anyway. So
Well, he was 20. He would have been. He would be
Each-
29 in 1911. Today
How old
he'd
are
be
you?
110.
He'd be 110 now.
Yeah,
well, he's dead. But,
around there. Yeah.
but if he wasn't
No,
dead,
I mean, no. That's
No,
the
people
adding
than
the
that.
29
he'd be more
on.
than that. He'd
He'd be
be
139.
100,
Older than that.
130,
older than that even.
139.
You said 1880 what?
1882. So next year he would be
139.
Yeah, 139.
140. Yeah, so 139. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, each crew member displays different symptoms of aging. Captain Kirk suffers from short-term memory loss and arthritis. Spock becomes hypersensitive to temperature changes. McCoy becomes more moody and irritable.
He was
Not that
already
you-
moody and
Not
irritable.
that you'd notice.
No.
And Galloway suffers from hearing loss. And Scotty finds that he's always tired. So there you go.
Scotty never
Uh,
showed up much in this episode.
No, he was only kind of in for a little bit.
They
According to
must have
Walter,
just
I can never say Walter's last name. How's it spelled?
Caning.
Walter
Caning? Is it
Koenig.
Caning? Okay, I always say
Caning.
Coining or something like that.
It's like one of those
Uh,
names like Taves that doesn't sound like it's spelled.
Yeah, fair enough. Anyway, a close-up shot of his eyes was filmed as Chekhov sees the dead body. However, Koenig kept blinking during the shot, and it took 15 takes to get it right. However, the shot was deleted from the episode. So that was time well spent. This is the first time
If you
McCoy
live
is
through this
aged.
life, you'll never get back.
This is the first time McCoy is aged using makeup in order to look much older than he is. The second time is in the Star Trek Generations episode, Encounter at Farpoint. Both versions look very similar.
Yes,
They do, actually.
they do.
Because they got this disease in Next Gen too, right?
They got something like it, yeah.
Like
Yeah, it was-
Pulaski got
it was a Pulaski episode, so obviously it's not that important. But anyway, Lieutenant Uhura was originally supposed to be one of the landing party. Let's try that again. Supposed to be one of the landing party that starts to age, but Gene Roddenberry refused to allow this on the grounds that it would make her unattractive.
So give it to this Lieutenant Galway.
Yeah. And they needed
So-
someone to kill off.
However, in the original series episode, All the Children Shall Lead, Uhura has a rapid aging scene.
That's
There
right.
you go.
Yeah, which we've seen
There you go.
already. Yeah, where she looks in the mirror. She's like, oh. Yeah.
William Shatner reportedly threatened producer Robert H. Justman with bodily harm after enduring a 3-hour old age makeup process for no reason. Quote, "Who's afraid of such a wrinkled, feeble old coot?" scuffed Justman. Nevertheless, there we go. Justman kept his office door locked until the shooting was filmed.
So Shatner would say he was gonna punch his lights out or something.
Apparently, he was not happy with the procedure of aging. Apparently, so there you go.
He locked himself inside of his office. That's kind of...
Yeah, locked so that way William Shatner couldn't go and kick his ass. Well, back then, I guess Shatner could kick somebody's ass. So there you go. In the first scene, the landing party beams down to a planet surface in front of two buildings. The first one is a curved exterior with alternating raised light blue panels and sunken white panels with no ribs. But the second one has a similar curved exterior, ribs clearly protruding from the roof. The second building is a repurposing of the structure used as the home of Zephyrin Cochrane in the original series Metamorphosis.
Oh yeah.
So there you go. So I thought I saw something like that previously. So there
Reuse,
you
recycle, reuse. What is it? Reuse,
go.
recycle,
Reduce, recycle. I think.
Reduce, recycle.
reduce. Yeah. So they're doing good things by reusing stuff.
There you go. They were ahead of the time.
Yeah.
Dr. Wallace's costume is made out of drapes, as that
Doesn't
tends to be
surprise
on
me.
this episode in this series. That comes up a lot.
What?
Actually.
This is a beautiful dress. What are you talking?
Those are drapes, my friend. Which doesn't shock me because
It wasn't that good of a dress.
The 60s
Yeah,
had some
well, you
great
don't see much of it there, Dave. You gotta show some
No,
bigger-
I get it. I get you a better picture.
Who puts
Anyway.
bubblegum pink drapes up in their house, though?
Anybody in the 60s.
Yikes.
The guy who owns the Pepto-Bismol company.
Yeah.
There you go. There you go. Another person.
Or is a diehard Barbie fan.
The last shot of the episode was reused from Star Trek, the original series, Amok Time from 1967. Note the wig there on Chekhov, which didn't have for the entire episode. So he just all of a sudden has a wig. So there you go. And okay, on this day, October 13th, 2001, James T. Kirk, aka William Shatner, at the age of 90 years young, went boldly into a mission of the final frontier, the new shipward spaceship. There you go. I don't know why that's in there, but it's in there. So
He would have been 70 years old, not 90. In 2001.
well, apparently they said that he would be 90 at that point. So I don't know.
90
But
on
that
the
doesn't make
show
any
or
sense because
90?
he wouldn't even. I don't know, man. It's the internet. I
He's 90
don't even know
today.
why that's in there, quite honestly. But this is the problem with when you don't read them before you actually read them on the air. And one last one. Kirk reuses the scam involving the Corbinite device, which is first described in Star Trek, the original series, the Corbinite Maneuver. Although Chekhov was not on the bridge on this occasion, he obviously heard the story from somewhere, as he and Sulu exchanged knowing looks as Kirk mentions the word.
Yeah, that was a good.
I didn't
moment.
notice that, actually.
I saw them like, yeah, give it a look there.
I just figure they just like to glaze at each other every so often.
That's what a dress made out of drapes looks like right there. Or was it this one? I don't know.
You know what? I'm sure both of them are contenders. Let's be honest.
Probably.
Yeah. Also, we got Jeremy's saying Kirk was the youngest captain in Starfleet at 30 something or other, early 30s. So that kind of made him stand out.
I don't know if he was going forward though.
There's definitely younger captains after him, I think. For
Yeah.
sure. Yeah. And even like
He's youngest at that point.
His counterpart from the Kelvin timeline, as played by Chris Pine, becomes a captain even younger. Despite joining Starfleet after. He doesn't.
But it's an alternate timeline. That's not canon, Dave.
Well, it's canon. It's just in an alternate timeline.
I know. I just like saying canon in at least one episode.
And then Jaemeel was here. He goes, "It doesn't matter."
I know. Jaemeel would be like, "It doesn't matter. Just
Like,
enjoy
it does
it."
matter. I don't want to. And then we are going to go over to our ratings and put a rating in for this episode. Adam's not with us. We'll have to get his rating later. Let's bring it up. So the Deadly Years, Dad, where do you want to rank this one?
I'd probably go a 6.5.
Okay.
Make it full screen, Dave.
Oh yeah.
There we go. Oh, now I can read it. All right.
Okay. I'm gonna give this I'll give this a 7.5. That's good. Actually,
I'm a 7.
7. Adam's not with us. And Jody.
I'm going to do 6.5. I'm with Ted on that one, which is very odd because we're usually never together on episodes. But
No, we don't usually.
Okay, so that averages at a 6.9 for tonight. Kind of okay. Not
it's
bad.
definitely not even in the top 10 worst episodes. But
No, it's definitely not. It's kind of in the middle of the
no
pack.
space hippies.
It's got a 7.4 on IMDb, so it's just about it's technically above average for season 2, which is it's a part of. So just looking ahead, we have 3 left, and the next episode we're doing is called By Any Other Name, Dad, you know this episode?
I do. Yeah.
I know it.
Me
because
too.
We did it in radio theater. It was one of the early ones, right, Ashley?
Yep.
Oh, is that right?
Yes, and I played.
Next week we'll be at 10 o'clock, Dave.
Next week we're at 10.
Then 7, then 10.
Yeah, so we're doing by any other name. That's an episode where like these aliens come along and they can turn you into a dehydrated disc and they can crush you up if they want to.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know that one.
Because there's like these squid aliens who took human. It's complicated. We'll talk about it next week. But check that out. We'll be talking about by any other name. We got 3 episodes left. Oh yeah, you tell us, Jeremy. Canon matters to me, and that's why I dislike the prequels. I'm with you. The prequels are usually more trouble than they're worth. But we're gonna be talking about that.
I'll be Jaemeel. Jeremy, just enjoy it.
Just enjoy it, because we're going to be talking about Star Trek Enterprise once this podcast wraps up in about 4 weeks or 3 weeks or so.
It's a long road.
Getting from there to here. It's been a long
Kevin's
time.
joining us, Ashley.
I know. I told him he has to watch the episodes when I'm not around.
So we're going to be talking about
Everybody is so hard on
Enterprise, the Andromedans. You mean
But
the
I have to
Andorians?
watch Discovery when he's not around. So
No, it's the
it equals
Andromedans
out.
are the from the next episode.
Yeah, so don't worry. Kevin's going to become an expert in Enterprise and prequels and canon.
He's
and all
gonna
this-
love it.
He's going to love it. Anyway, so we have by any other
Well,
name. Then
maybe not for a couple years, but he will eventually.
Then we have The Cage, and then our final one will be called All Our Yesterdays. That's the final finale. And I think we'll do some kind of a wrap-up or video or something I'm going to create to sort of commemorate this whole experience of going through all 79 episodes with the different panelists we've had. We'll bring Karen Rondo back, and we'll bring everybody back for a final chat when this wraps up. Also, check us out all the time here on Live Long and Podcast. We talk about different Star Trek things, including original series, of course, with this podcast. Tuesday nights, mostly. It's usually Tuesday night. Star Trek Deep Space Nine at 9. We'll be back tomorrow night talking about the Sons of Moog, which is the episode where Kern shows up in season 4 to see his brother. Not too happy with what the decisions Worf made during the Klingon-Cardassian War. So we'll be talking about that episode. And then this Thursday, we're going to be talking about the premiere episode of Star Trek Prodigy. We'll be on at 8 o'clock Eastern. I'll be with Jessica Chan and Davin Skellhorn to talk about that, the new Nickelodeon Star Trek show that's premiering. The premiere episode is going to be called Lost and Found. It's an animated show. So if you want to know what we think about that, check that out on Thursdays. In a few weeks, November 18th, we're starting Star Trek Discovery season 4, and we'll be doing that on Thursdays as well. And check out next month, we're going to be back with another monthly edition of Star Trek Radio Theater. We'll do one episode. Don't know what episode we're going to do yet, but in December we're going to do Star Trek Radio Theater, a movie, and we've decided what that movie is going to be.
What is it?
Star Trek First Contact.
Oh, good movie.
Yeah, so it's good. Don't go criticizing my counseling techniques. And
We don't have the time to talk about time.
we don't have the time to argue about time.
Timeline. This is no
timeline,
time
that's
to
it.
argue about time. We don't have the time.
Correct. So we're gonna be doing that. We'll be doing reenactment. We'll get that. The movies are fun because we can bring in a big cast for those.
I think
And,
Ashley should be Troy. I want to hear her say that.
You want some Troy? I could go for that. That could be fun.
I like being Troy.
Yeah, we're gonna get Dad. You want to be in that?
I don't know, when is it?
In December.
Oh, I don't know. Depends on my.
We'll see. We'll see.
He's
We'll see if we
like,
can
"I'm
schedule
booked."
it. He's booked. He's booked up. It's hard to get him. Also, check out our other 2 channels. One's called Super Mater Brothers Podcasting. That's where we talk about shows that aren't related to Star Trek. And every Wednesday, right now we're talking about Survivor season 41. I do that with my brother Jeff and Jaemeel.
I have
Also-
to know, Dave. Are you going to cover Tiger King 2?
I will cover Tiger King too. When does that release?
November 18th, I think.
November 18th.
That guy out of jail?
I might have to do it November 19th. Yeah, I don't know. I have to find out in Tiger King 2.
Well, I don't know if they're releasing all the episodes at once, but
I thought that guy
Okay,
was
so it
in
might be a
jail.
staggered thing.
yeah, it might be a staggered thing.
Jody, I thought that guy was in jail.
I think he still is. They're just continuing.
There's more to
the
it.
whole thing.
This is
There's
like the
more
sequel.
apparently. Yeah.
Tiger Queen,
I
Carol
don't know.
Baskin.
I feel terrible even liking it, but I do.
We gotta get Sterling back for those podcasts. He was on the first one as well, and Candace.
She'd probably do it.
She'd probably do it. She's talking some Tiger King. And then Trivial Debates is our monthly show where we argue about movie, TV, sports, more in a game show format. We do that on last Sunday of every month. That's actually going to be this Sunday, the 31st of October. It will be a Halloween themed. I will be hosting.
Who's on it?
TBD, but one of Jaemeel's friends looks like Rajesh.
Cool.
Working that out, and I think Adam Woodward would be part of it. But beyond that, I don't know yet. So, anyone want to put their hand up? I'm looking for contestants.
I've won so many times. It's just
so much, like you got to let other people win.
You know what? You got to let other people win.
Yeah, you can't hog it all. So it's so those are all our channels, all our programs. Check all that out. We love our podcasts, and so should you. All right, so
that's a promo.
That's a promo. That's a spot. If you don't believe in it,
you know what?
You never will.
You know what? If you don't like them, well, fuck you.
Yeah. Yeah. Also, check out Davin Skellhorn's Star Trek podcast. It's called Locutors of Trek. You got the little logo up here, right here.
Especially if you love the DS9.
Yeah, he's got his own Star Trek channel. He's the guy who joins us on different shows, including Deep Space 999, and he'll be on the Prodigy podcast. So check out his podcast as well, and check out my son Eamon's podcast. It's called Let's Talk About Fighting Games. It's on Spotify and wherever you listen to your audio podcasts. Check those things out if you like fighting video games. All right, everybody, we're going to sign off for tonight, and
good. I got to head out to go curling.
Good. Okay. Well, we can release
Hurry hard.
And sign off and live long in podcast.
Tracy's number 1 in the world now, Dave.
Our cousin, our other second cousin.
Our second cousin is number 1 curling for women in the world now. She won a big bronze medal yesterday.
Man, they're all accomplishments.
She won a big bronze medal up in Oakville, actually.
She wins some money.
She won $75,000.
That's not bad.
Wow.
Yeah, for her team did. I mean,
good honor.
They split it.
Yeah,
they split it. Yeah, but still, they did well.
That's still amazing.
We got some good genes.
Yep.
In
It's on the turn inside, though. That's on the turn inside.
That's how your mother.
Okay.
I'm just happy if I win a round.
All right, everybody. Have a good one. We'll be back in a week to talk about By Any Other Name. Thanks, Ashley. Thanks, Jody. And regrets from Adam Woodward. He'll be back next week. All right. Take care.
Miss you, Adam.
Live long and